Three. Hi and welcome to this World Childless Week webinar, which is where once again we bring the NOMO crones together, as I call them. NOMO means not mother and crone is not a dirty word, for a session of fireside wisdom with childless elder women. And we are taking on today's theme for World Childless Week, which is letters to our younger selves. And we have all written a letter to our younger selves, and we're going to share them with you. I'd also like to let you know that we were expecting a few other NOMO crones on the call today, who sadly can't be with us. Karen Malone Wright isn't well, Jackie Shannon Hollis isn't well, and Sevilla Morgan isn't able to be with us, but she has recorded a message which will be included on the recording of this video. Donna Ward in Australia has also recorded a message. They've read their letters to their younger selves and they will be included on the recording that goes out tomorrow. So please do watch the recording tomorrow because there's bonus content. Without further ado, I would love to know in the chat if you've written your letter to your younger self and what it was like for you, because it's been an interesting experience for us. So, okay, I'm not gonna pick on anyone this time. Who would like to read their letter?
I'll do it if no one else.
Thank you, Maria.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, who's going to go after Maria? And then Sue. Okay, all right, and then Sue.
Oh,
okay, everyone's ready now. Okay,
all right.
I've got one as well. Okay.
I thought you were looking first. Anyway, no. I hope everyone can hear me.
Yes.
Can you? Okay, good. Yeah. All right. So just a quick background. I grew up in an ultra right-wing, conservative, religious, misogynistic environment. Mm-hmm. And that's how I got started on my learning path in life. Mm-hmm. So this is where I'm starting in my reading of my letter. I have 16 different things that I'm going to be covering as part of my letter. Okay, the experiences and awareness of your early years has defined a lot of your journey in life. After a brave start, you set out on a difficult journey, one that has resulted in amazing learning. These are some of the things you've learned along the way, and I'm proud of you for discovering, and that I wish I had known. 1, people will take the easy way out, and some call that having courage. Not so, but it happens. Number 2, you are not the identity or narrative you've been given by your family and culture. It is not your place in the world. Leaving your so-called given identity behind gives you freedom and lets you embrace your whole self. Number 3, women do not exist to support weak men. We must let them experience their weakness directly rather than assign their weaknesses to women. You cannot and should not try to do someone else's inner work for them. Number 4, learn as much as you can to be as brilliant as you can. It's fun to surprise the naysayers. If you want to be kind-hearted, think of it as providing inspiration. Number 5, a lot of fear is a racket, a scam to keep you in hiding and giving others an advantage or a free pass. Don't give in to demands for false modesty. Number 6, tough is not necessarily mean. It can also simply be long overdue fairness showing up, but you must take the time to know the difference. Number 7, learn the difference between empathy that comes from recognizing that life is challenging for everyone and the false empathy demanded by the patriarchy. I call it the drama of the poor man, and it is nonsense. Number 8, the part of you wanting to rebel is the part of you that can lead you to your true voice. She does not apologize for being herself. Number 9, the world will accept you as a girl and as a mother, and some will accept you as a crone. However, the queen energy, the woman as decider and ruler, not a figurehead, and this has nothing to do with recent events, has not yet been fully allowed. Find and embrace your inner queen. Number 10, learn that life is really happening on the edge, not in the center. That's been taken by those stuck in the past, and they are not too nice to childless women. Number 11, value your independence. There's nothing more frightening to a patriarchal man or woman than an independent woman. It is a false fear, and generous of us to help others overcome their false fears. Number 12, anyone who says that self-care is being selfish should demonstrate their selflessness for you. I doubt you will have many takers. Number 13, avoid those who will tell you that pleasure is bad. Pleasure can be an inner guide to show you what is true and beneficial for you and others. It is an aspect of joy and to be embraced. Enjoy sex your whole life. Number 14, breathing isn't just something you do through your nose. Simplifying your life creates breathing space and freedom in your life for the joy that is possible. Number 15, the more you shed false identities, the easier it is to live from a fearless and grounded wisdom. And number 16, you are at least as deserving as everyone else, especially because you've made an inner journey few have the courage to undertake. Treasure that about yourself and be proud. As I look back, I can see how challenging it is to be a woman today, especially when we know we deserve more than to be dominated by others. We all deserve to be honored, cherished, and admired for the beauty, wisdom, and generosity we bring to the world. As painful as childlessness is, it can also be seen as an opening. We deserve more space in the world than is allowed for us. We need to take up more space and embrace that as part of our story. So my big message to you, Maria, and all women, is to release yourself from that which is false and celebrate yourself. It's time.
Wow. Wow. That's amazing. Wow.
Wow.
I got goosebumps. Just imagining what it would have been like to have heard those messages as a young woman. From an older woman that I trusted. How it could have changed my life.
When I was only a couple years old, I knew something was very, very wrong. I was very, very young. And so I started trying to understand, and that's really where this comes from.
Wow. Wow. If anyone has any questions for Maria, I think we'll pop them in the Q&A box, and perhaps we'll do all our letters, and then we'll do a big Q&A session. So if it's a message, a question specifically for Maria, put it in the Q&A box. Wow, I can see I might need tissues today. Anyone needs tissues now?
Need the whole box.
Yeah. I think it was Sue Fagaldi-Lick who was going to go next, yeah?
Yes, yes.
Please.
And if I look weird, I've had my pupils dilated about an hour ago at the eye doctors. So
I don't think we can quite. You just look. Your dark eyes just look even more gorgeous than normal. So.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I was telling the kid putting the drops in. It's like I have to zoom in an hour. It's
fine. You just look a bit stoned.
Oh, if only. Okay. Here's my letter. Dear 20-year-old Sue, if I told you how much the world would change in the next 50 years, you would not believe me. If I told you your life would be nothing like your mother's, you would not believe that either. But it's true. Everything will change. The only thing that will stay the same is you. 50 years later, you will still be writing poems and playing music. You will stay up too late reading. You will keep doing yoga, even the shoulder stand. But you will not be Doris Day married to Rock Hudson before we knew he was gay. You will be none of those movie heroines who live happily ever after with the husband and kids and house with the white picket fence. I don't want to frighten you, but you will never celebrate a 50th wedding anniversary with this man you think you love. Nor will you be a mother, grandmother, or great-grandmother surrounded by the family you and your beloved created. No, you will look like your mother. Same brown eyes, black hair, soft padded breasts, perfect for comforting a weeping child. You will know how to make cookies and knit tiny sweaters, how to teach a little one to read, to spell, and to love God. You will have mother love to give, but no one to receive it except your dogs. You will have dogs. It could be different if you take a different path now when there's still time. You got a late start. You were the girl who never had a date in high school, whose parents were so strict you stayed home sewing or knitting when your classmates were going to parties and dances. Now that you're in college, you're just beginning to experience what others did back in middle school. First dates, first kisses, first sex. It's okay. Sex is natural. And it's good that you went to the Student Health Center for birth control. It's not time for babies now. Finish your education. You will need that degree to support yourself. You will never be a housewife or stay-at-home mom. Lose yourself in your lover's arms. Enjoy it. But you do not have to marry him. And if you do, it's all right to demand of him everything you need. Do not assume it will come naturally. This is not a movie with love and marriage followed by the baby carriage. Talk to him, insist on answers. He has this way of clamping his jaws and refusing to talk. But he needs to know you expect to have babies, just like you expect to keep writing and singing. If that scares him away, let him go. He is not your only choice. This marriage will not last. You will be alone for a while. By the time you find Mr. Right, he will already have had children and will not be willing or able to father anymore. And no, this is not the sound of music. His children will not adore you. But you will have a love worthy of any movie. It's your choice, love or children of your own. No, your life will be nothing like your mother's or anything like you expect, but it will be good. When you were playing with your Barbie dolls, were they mommies? No, they were not. They were singers going off to the club to perform. Who was your idol in middle school? Joe in Little Women, the writer. You will be these things. Your obituary will list your book titles instead of your children and grandchildren. That is not a terrible thing. You still have time to change your fate. Make other choices now and you might live a life like everyone else, filled with family who call you mom and grandma. But I suspect this is how your movie is supposed to be. It's all right. Everyone can't be Doris Day. Love, Sue at 70.
Thank you, Sue. Thank you. Yeah. Oh wow. Yeah, my doll was air hostess Barbie. That's the only one I liked. See the world. Yeah. Yeah.
Doris Day was quite the idol way back.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
The 50s, very housewife look, you know, the whole, yeah, very perfect looking.
Yeah.
Yep.
No,
And she could sing,
yeah,
but
I
she
love
got
those.
married
Yeah, I love
always at
those
the end.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, that was the script.
Yeah.
That was, yes.
Yeah, that one's still running, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, different people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For those of you who are just joining us, or just to repeat it, if you have any questions for Sue Lick, and just note we've got Susan, Sue Newsom, and Sue Forgaldic. So please put Sue with a D or an N or an F or something after it when you ask a question in the Q&A, and we'll do a lovely big Q&A roundup at the end. So I think Susan Dowrie, I think you volunteered to go next, did you not? Yes.
I am.
Have you changed your mind?
Yes, I've been reading this to myself every day in the hope that I wouldn't cry as much when at the time I actually can.
Tears
So,
are tears
with
are
no
welcome.
guarantees about that.
Tears are
Yeah.
welcome.
Here it is. Hello, 2-year-old Susan. I am your adult self. I see your awareness that there's something different about your brother, that you're 18 months younger, but can move better than he can. People outside your immediate family are uncomfortable around him. I see your confusion and your reliance on your mother to interpret this for you and to decide what to do about it all. Hello, 10-year-old Susan. I feel your intense embarrassment at your early and rapid puberty, how wrong you feel among your peers, how frightening it is to be examined naked by specialists, medical specialists. Confusing that your cousin is about to finish high school and shows no signs of developing breasts or hips or starting her periods. How impossible it is for you to understand the conflict between your mother and your paternal aunt over this. None of this experience is reflected in the now you're a woman. That's what they called it, the sex education materials available in the 1970s. You feel unstable. It makes sense that your strategy to protect yourself from the unwelcome attention of adult men at this age is to turn yourself off as a sexual being. It's easier to continue to identify with your family of origin than it is to trust your body. But this cuts you off from the rebelling that teenagers must do and from wider social and political changes. Hello, 33-year-old Susan. I'm right here, your 61-year-old self. I knew to come that you need help and no one is available. There is someone now. I'm here. Do you need acknowledgement of helplessness, of hopelessness, of powerlessness? Of course you do. There has been a change in the law back in 1990 in your part of Australia. That's 3 years ago now. This change is right and fair. It is hard won and necessary, but you did not notice, and now you are shocked. George continued to claim you as his girlfriend, even as he made his identity change to being a gay man. 1994 is when he tells you. There is a sharp slap of finally understanding. He is still vulnerable to family and social rejection. You do not yet see how vulnerable you are. And you need accompaniment to sort this all out. But your parents are dealing with your older brother in intensive care and supporting your maternal aunt to die at home. Your younger siblings are not close by. Your friends no longer feel safe and you can't speak about it yourself. Sworn to secrecy by George and frozen by a shame too awful to bring to light. You adopt a familiar coping strategy: dissociation, separation from the feelings and truths only your own body can bring you. It makes sense that you become functioning but frozen. Survival. Hello, 50-year-old Susan. I want to say how grateful I am that you work with nonviolent communication, attending residential trainings, committing to a regular practice group and to empathy partners. It will be challenging, even confronting and painful at times, but also playful and ultimately a means for me at 61 to feel connected to the full flow of life as a childless spinster. Is it sweet to know that you do find a way to accompany yourself? That you even come to own the shame you carry for behaving in a way that did not meet your own integrity? That you learn to start reintegrating all that you have learned? You are still far from able to maintain it in the face of a major triggering event, but you are a lot more accepting of you. It is sad that it takes so long, but that lends a conviction that even moves you towards courage, to claim the processing time this needs, to trust the kindness of strangers and chuckle when things go wrong. I hope this helps. Love, Susan.
Beautiful.
Wow. Wow.
It does take a long time.
Does take a long time.
Yeah.
Yes.
So much love for you in the chat, Susan, while you were reading that. Heart after heart after heart.
Thank you. That really helps.
Yeah.
That really helps.
Yeah. Every line you read, there were hearts and hearts and hearts of support and appreciation. And
Thank you, everyone.
incredibly
Because that
moving.
feeling that you're not a smear on the pavement of everybody else's life is precious. that people see the life in you when you don't sometimes see the life in yourself. That is the gift that we can give each other.
Yeah. And the power of being witnessed, which is the healing power so much for us.
It's the healing power, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, of accompaniment, of just acknowledging that that's how it is for somebody else. That's really
Non-judgmental witnessing.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you for sharing
Thank
that
you.
with us.
You have great courage.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. Who feels ready to go next? Sue Newsom, Trish
Yeah.
Forbes? Sue, you ready, Sue? Okay.
I'm ready.
Then it's Trish and then it's me.
Okay, so this is my letter to my younger self. Dear Sue, it feels timely to be writing to you in my 61st year. And in writing this letter, I will do my best not to be your therapist or to analyse you. My intent is to be your loving witness and to speak from my heart. Firstly, I want to speak to you when, as an 18-year-old, you were alone in a room in a private clinic, 170 miles away from home, not knowing what to expect and not knowing how you would ever get through this. I know that you so wanted your fairy tale romance, your prince to come in and whisk you off your feet, to take care of you, to give you security, a wedding and children. And you did feel loved and desired by your first serious boyfriend. But it was a possessive love. It was an obsessive desire with abusive control. And it was then that your fairy tale shattered and you tried to escape. But he couldn't let you go. He harassed you, he stalked you, and he sexually assaulted you. So there you were, laying in the bed in the clinic in London, waiting for the pregnancy that had happened as a result of his assault to end. And there was no midwife, no doula, no supportive birthing partner, no one to hold your hand as you waited in fear and in pain. But Sue, you got through it. Your body recovered, and then you started the long journey to recover your heart and your soul. New relationships didn't really work, so your career became your lover, and you traveled the world together, enjoying a lot of success, but feeling so very empty. And you could have so easily have disintegrated after all that had happened. You could have gone off the rails and got very lost in the world and in life, but you didn't. You relentlessly tried to heal your deep wounds. You filled shelf after shelf of self-help books, paid enormous amounts of money for therapy sessions, where you bashed cushions in your burning rage and you cried oceans of tears about your shame. And all that together with personal development groups and personal development programs where you tentatively shared your story. And when you were eventually ready to co-create a healthy relationship with a man who truly loved you and desired you, you found out that he'd already got 2 teenage children. Oh, you so wanted a guidebook of how to be a stepmom. Do you remember the first time you met his children, when you cooked waffles and you had strawberries and cream and chocolate sauce and more goodies, and you were so nervous because you so wanted them to like you? And there were times when you got it very wrong, and also times when it felt so very right. In your quest to find understanding and awareness about yourself, you gained a lot of knowledge and experience. And this inspired you to change your career so that you could train to be able to support others. And the results of that have been, for the last 20 years, you've used all of your inner resource to do some amazing things in your work. You're working with women to help them find more of their power, people who need help with their sexual expression, people with disability who want the right to be sexual. So talking to you, writing this letter to you as a teenager, you didn't get the fairy tale that you imagined, and I didn't get to have any children. But Sue, I'm so hugely proud of you, and I'm so grateful for how you managed to find a way through those teenage years, because the work that you did and have done has paved the way for me to be the elder woman that I am today. And I look ahead and I look forward to some more magic, some more naughtiness, fun, and some peace, and to create a different type of fairy tale for myself. And I want to say to Sue that I love you.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm glad not everyone could make it tonight. I don't think I'd cope. Incredible. Well, we've got some wonderful recordings which will be added to the end of the video from those of the Nomo crones who sadly couldn't make it tonight. But this is blowing me away. Thank you so much, Sue. Trish, who is our newest Nomo crone. Welcome, Trish.
Thank you, Jody.
Yeah.
This is going to be a letdown.
Rebel Rising panel. Do you feel okay to read your letter?
Yes, I'm okay to read it. Mine's probably going to be on the theme, but a little bit different.
That's fine.
I'll read it, and you know, you can have comment or not. It's probably a little bit shorter. I hope that's okay.
No judgment, only loving witnessing. Whatever it is fine.
I've called it, and this is in a hurry, I called it a letter to me and a hospital car park. So in my day, as a young child, I had no idea where babies came from. I played with dolls, but I knew I'd have them, babies. I went on assuming I'd have kids. They'd materialise like smoke out of the ground, you know? So to stop and prepare for the world crashing down when we found out my ex-husband and I, couldn't have them, I wish someone had said something like the following to me after we'd done weeping in the hospital car park, after learning our childless fate and just being left to it. And sometime later, I'd say, I know how much you love children, babies. Well, then you must hear this. Continue to love them, but don't be needing them. Many folk don't nowadays need them. So you see, although babies are necessary to keep the world turning, not all of us need to or be able to have them. And it will not matter. It will not matter because we childless will be indispensable. We're useful. We have no kids. You'll be in quite a privileged position. You will grow with the freedom of being able to be just you and not just someone's mother, you. There'll be pressure. No children, why not? Not having kids, why not? And you will answer, we couldn't have children. You won't fudge it. We couldn't have children. No discussions, no shall we, shan't we, none of that. Your decision will be made for you, and that decision may well be made for a reason. Not simply it wasn't meant to be, it was meant to be. Take your message to the world. It's not compulsory to have babies and children. It's not compulsory to think that's the only way to fulfillment. Sometimes it's not possible. And see it as a responsible, caring thing. You may decide to be a warrior for the childless and child-free. The message of responsibility to yourself, the unborn child, the planet, your well-being, taking the message of childlessness out to the uninformed. That'll be you. You're childless, so listen up, world. You'll love being a voice, won't you? See how you can fill, nay, use that gap. See how so many of your childless sisters and brothers are working hard to unite that voice. The childless are coming, eh? You. Learn everything there is to learn without children. Learn to be independent. Love being independent without children. You'll be free to be you, not defined by being mother, not defined by having 3 kids, but you. Having no children will make you very special in your own way. Some inspiring people will tell you that. In turn, you must tell lots of people. You will matter, and you'll matter because you don't and couldn't have children, but you'll be special. You will hear that message. Your childlessness does not define you. You're special. Believe it, because it will be true. Thank you.
The childless are coming.
The childless are coming. Believe it. Wow. Gosh, that was amazing. I've got goosebumps.
Oh, thank you.
And the chat is going bananas
Yeah.
with support for you.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah,
And
I
they're
think
clapping
you said-
along.
I think you said, Jody, so many words or something. And I kept measuring my words and going, oh God, there's too many there. I'll have to get that paragraph down. And so it now feels a bit short. And I'm
It's
sorry.
fine.
No, it felt perfect. And I know what you mean. I had to keep cutting. I had to keep cutting mine as well. And I think I'm just hoping it got more and more concentrated. You know what I mean? So I need to pop to another screen to read mine. So here we go. Dear 20-year-old Jody, in a couple of years' time, I will be 60, almost 40 years older than you are now, and living a life that suits us perfectly, which is not that far from the kind of life you dreamed of. No, I'm not the editor of Cosmopolitan magazine, and nor do I drive a zippy little red sports car, but I am a writer, and I am doing my part to leave the world a better place. My home is a serene and gentle place of safety, and the work I do is a place of safety for others. We did good, kid. Watching you across the chaotic river of time, I see you searching for something to distract you from your pain, someone to rescue you from your feelings. From here, I can see that the person you are looking for is yourself, but she is nowhere to be found as you walk miraculously out of the bombed rubble of your childhood. On the outside, you appear unharmed, but inside, there is nothing but a locked room full of darkness. You walk purposefully towards your future, creating it as you go, but one thing is clear. You would never dream of bringing a child into this world. You would rather have been brought up by wolves. I see you, young Jody, and I weep for you, and I reach out my arms to you. Keep going, little one, keep going. Every morning I watch you choose your clothes for the day, each time in a completely different style, as if trying on a new personality. One day the wisecracking Annie Hall with your charity shop tweed trousers, braces and a trilby. Another, the almost cyborg coolness of Madonna in Desperately Seeking Susan with your ripped fishnets, leather jacket and lace gloves. You enter each persona with relief, hoping that one day you'll feel some kind of kinship with one of these role models, with the real you. You have a reputation for being stylish, but inside you are living in a hall of mirrors. Let me hold your hands and look you in the eyes and tell you that I do not hold it against you that you chose not to have that baby. He doesn't either. Did you know his name was Paul? His soul visited me when I was attending a saying goodbye service at St. Paul's Cathedral a few years ago, supporting other childless women mourning baby loss. He let me know that he understood your choice. Neither he nor I hold it against you, even though we never conceived it again, even when we were ready, even when we felt that maybe we had the capacity to do family differently. You were right, young Jody. A baby, a family, would never have healed our wounds. We needed to learn how to heal our own hearts through a life of self-compassion, self-expression, and therapy. If we had become a mother, whether at 20 or 30, we might never have had a chance to do this healing. And so we would have passed our black box of trauma to the next generation in one way or another, just as it had been handed to us. Instead, we did something different with our pain, something we can be proud of. We healed our intergenerational trauma, and in doing so, we liberated ourselves and then others. Dear young Jody, we never got to be mothers, but you have the heart of a lioness. There's no way you would have survived what you did and healed from what happened to you without that kind of courage. I am so proud to be you and to take care of you and to continue to take that fierce and compassionate spirit of yours forward in this life. And now I look back deeper across time to the 1,000 generations of women that birthed us, seeing their pain and their joy, their tragedies and their achievements. They are watching you, watching me, and they do not see us as failures, as the end of the line. They created us to be their representatives in this liminal moment of our civilization. The world needs women like us right now, women who know that darkness doesn't have to win, because we may be childless, but we can still be good ancestors. Together, love your loving older self, Jody.
Oh, yeah.
Very nice. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm. Thank you.
Oh, I feel like
Breathe,
we all need to
breathe,
take
everyone.
some of Maria's advice and take a few deep breaths.
Yeah, definitely. All of us and the participants. Yeah.
Yes.
There are so many ways in which we have to heal right now in this world.
Mm.
You've got all the patriarchal madness, you've got the cultural and climate stuff, you've got the mother wound, which was basically what a lot of us are healing on. I mean, it's just unbelievable to me how much actual healing work has to be done.
Yeah.
And it does take a lifetime.
Yeah.
I do think it's very brave to be willing to engage in the work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not a lot of fun sometimes.
No, and I
Yeah.
feel as, it's something that's really, as I'm moving towards my 60s and having done, so much healing around my childlessness and, having got past that feeling of being the end of the line, of actually shifting my perspective around that and going, well, actually, maybe I'm not maybe the line was meant to stop with me. Maybe I'm actually the fruit of the line.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm not, maybe all of that happened just so that I could be here right now.
Yeah.
And do the work that needs to be done and to be there for others. It's to call us the end of the line is just one way of framing it, but framing it in a different way can be really supportive.
Mm.
So
Well, maybe we need a large group of childless women in order to free the feminine.
I had a really extraordinary thing is that my first TED talk 5 years ago, I had this line in it, which was right towards the end, is like, maybe there's a reason there are so many educated, liberated, childless women alive on the planet at one time together right now.
Yeah.
Maybe the world needs us. And I nearly took it out of the talk so many times because I was like, what? And I kept putting it back in because my intuition just said, no, that needs to be that. Because I think I said, maybe the planet needs us.
Mm.
And more so, I'm feeling that, like Trish said, it's like the child, we by coming through our grief, which is such an extraordinarily powerful and painful thing to do, I do think a very powerful version of us, perhaps, as you say, the powerful feminine, is kind of released.
Mhm.
And then she looks for what to do with that energy. And I think that can be really, really hard.
Yeah.
It's like, what do I do with this? All of the normal places kind of don't seem to be open to me. And a lot of people don't seem to understand what I'm talking about. We have to find each other, which is why sort of World Childless Week and Gateway Women and what we're doing here together, I think, is so important, because there is a need for a different kind of leadership as well.
Yeah.
A sort of a self-leadership, which isn't about, it is about community and coming together, but it's not about one person having an idea and other people agreeing with it. It's something, it's something very different. And I know Maria has some brilliant insights onto this, you know, because of you know, an evolution in how we think and how we behave as humans, which is happening right now, and hopefully enough of us will make that leap that we can help as civilization goes through this traumatic and painful rebirth.
I do think the feminine has a particular wisdom, has way beyond motherhood. It's a kind of grounded wisdom that we have totally lost sight of. And when you are taken out of the cultural narrative about who you're supposed to be, basically it brings you back to ground.
Yeah.
And you begin to discover that life isn't just about that. It's almost like you've got this story going on and then there's life. And from that comes a kind of wisdom. And we do show up differently in the world, and the world needs it, even if it doesn't want to see it or hear it.
Do you think, Maria, though, that, well, everybody, that the world does need to see it? The world
does, yeah. I don't think it wants to, though.
Yeah.
No, I don't think it does. But that's too bad, isn't it? You know,
Yes, it is. I think owning our anger is really important. All this unnecessary destruction, I think it's a way to kind of bring our strength and bring it, kind of have it coalesce on the inside. So you've got this central kind of energy that is the strong feminine. But I think we own our anger about all this destruction, and then you show up in the world differently. And as you're saying, the world does need to see it. But the way you present will come, actually, I think, from a kind of matter of factness. So
and focus.
As women, we're supposed to be kind of talking to people in a way that kind of almost like a supplicant. And I think this is sort of a different kind of energy. It's an enough is enough. This is the truth. Don't care if you like it kind of energy. It's a different kind of authority. I guess that's
So
the
queen
word.
energy.
It is the queen. Sue's right.
I love that queen.
Yeah. Or the IDGAF fuck of energy of postmenopause. The I don't give a fuck energy.
Yeah.
Which is, but when I was a child, I never wanted to be a princess. I always wanted to be the queen.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, and there's a new term that an organization called Noon has created, and they actually call them queenagers. And it's like this sort of women in their sort of 50s and beyond who are kind of, it's like almost like trying to name a sort of new, like teenagers was a new word once. It's like queenagers. It's women coming into their power, you know, and we don't have words for that, and I think queenly energy is really powerful. And I've got a couple of questions for you, Maria, in the Q&A box, and it is when you wrote the letter, what age were you talking to? Could you define a bit by what you meant by false empathy versus true empathy, and was there a particular denomination you grew up with or church? So those were all for Maria.
Okay. Roman Catholic. I was thinking of myself at a very young age, in that I was like maybe 2 or 3, and I started saying, I've got to figure things out. And so basically all of this was sort of my accumulated insights throughout the years. Okay, and false empathy. I saw this when I was growing up. And it was the poor man. The poor man has to work. The poor man, don't bother him. The poor man, you know, he's tired. This idea that the man needs all this sympathy and all just because he is a man. That's not real empathy. That's actually a form of, I think, emotional abuse. And real empathy comes from recognizing life is challenging for everyone. So it really doesn't matter who you are. You're going to have challenges and struggles in life, and that's real empathy. But to advance men and the patriarchy under some kind of empathy that isn't real when they're actually being privileged, that is not real empathy. That's false empathy. That's exploitive, actually, in my opinion.
Do you think that's current though? Do you think that's actually now? Is that still happening, Maria? Do you feel that is
I
still?
think so. I think that's one of the big fights going on, that some of the older, more patriarchal individuals who want power over, they're being challenged by those who are more invested in a more democratic, open society. And I think they're fighting like crazy to maintain that power. And I do think there is a kind of, at least I'm seeing it in the United States, a kind of self-pity that's put on public display, particularly in our political space. And it is a self-pity that somehow they should be challenged in their position within the society. So I think it's actually a pretty big fight right now. And I think ultimately they will lose, but it's a big fight. And particularly internally, I know within my family, there's a lot of that dynamic. And the minute you challenge it, you really can be a pariah.
Fascinating.
So,
Yeah. Wow.
yeah, that's my experience. You know, somebody else might, maybe there are other parts of the world that aren't quite as entrenched in these ideas as I think we are here in the United States. I think we're a little behind.
I think what I'm seeing, and I'm seeing it more within organizations, you know, sort of in trying to sort of bring up the topic of non-parents and the different types of support they might need in the workplace, how those who have pronatalist privilege in the workplace or within a system, that it can be very hard to actually get them to recognize that there is another issue here. That what I've noticed, I call it, it's like when they think that non-parents getting support and understanding is going to take a piece of their pie. And what I keep saying is, no, actually, you know, we want to support parents in the workplace. We don't want to take away anything that you've got. You probably need more. And actually what we need to do is grow the pie bigger.
Yeah.
But those who sit with some privilege and power, you know, are so challenged by the idea that there might be other people that need support and help too, that they need to be recognized, that they need to be acknowledged, that we exist and we have needs. And you can apply this to almost any out group. I just happen to be working around non-parents, and it's that sense of how the out group, when it tries to speak to the in group, is attacked.
And
kind of Susan understands this from a sort of a non-violent communication point of view, and it's really interesting. And I think that I'm just thinking, you know, of people who are currently in power politically, seeing how and other ways that they're in power, seeing how different the younger generation are. Because one thing I'm seeing is those young people who would have been the age that my children are, they are totally different. Their consciousness is completely different. And they're actually not interested. The carrot and stick approach doesn't work with them because they don't want the carrot. They actually don't want all of these kind of trappings and things. They're like, oh, no.
They don't believe that carrot anymore.
Yeah, they don't believe the carrot.
Yeah, because it doesn't have substance anymore. It's shaking all around us.
Yeah.
But also in a diverse world, the carrot and the stick don't have as much power.
No.
Mm-hmm.
And it was fascinating because I was Sharon Blackie has just written an amazing new book called Haggitude. And I'm very proud that I was interviewed for it. And I recorded a podcast with the interview with her, which is coming out next week. And she asked me, like, because it's all about the archetypes of the old woman, of the hag. And she said, you know, what do you identify with? And, you know, what stories from when you were a child are kind of now coming back to resonance for you as an older woman? And I said, my favorite fairy story was The Emperor's New Clothes. It was the little child pointing out, going, that's not true. I don't believe it. And showing everyone else that it wasn't true. And I just thought, that's my archetype. I'm a truth teller. You know,
There you go.
I'm a system deconstructor. You know, I think, you know, Maria is as well.
Oh, yeah.
And just looking back, we got a few questions which are kind of more general. And it was a couple of people sort of, so I'm going to combine two questions, who would really like to write a letter to the younger self. And one of them says, but where to start and how do I stop telling my younger self to make different decisions? Because I still have those regrets and slightly blame myself. And I'm thinking maybe Sue for Lit could talk to that. And another person has said, what if we're too cowardly to write our letter? I'm worried about seeing all the mistakes I made. And it comes as a daughter of a mother who loved to say, you made your bed, now lie in it. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
too. I think,
Oh,
I think
yeah.
it's whole generations of mum who got that memo.
All got that.
So
Yes.
who would like to speak to maybe Sue? Because I think your letter really touched on that, Sue Lick. Yeah.
Yes, and God bless my sainted mother who never told me that. She did tell me to make my bed. But anyway, you know, one thing that comes to mind right away is you don't have to, you can write more than one letter. You can start many times and try a different way. You know, you do not have to follow any format. Maria had a list. You know, it's whatever works to you, and go to whatever age you feel comfortable. If you're not ready to talk to your 18-year-old self, talk to a different age.
Yeah.
You know, start wherever it's comfortable, and if that doesn't work, try another way. I mean, you're not committed to it in any way. You can just play with it, see what comes out.
And I would just say that, you know, the work self-compassion, which has been self-compassion and grief work have been, you know, the two absolute cornerstones of my recovery. And in terms of learning to forgive myself for the learning opportunities I had, they weren't mistakes. They were, as they say in California, they were AFOGs. They were another fucking opportunity for growth. I've had a lot of AFOGs.
Yes.
Yeah, I am very compassionate towards my younger self, who did the best she could with the limited information and experience and mentors that she had. And and if she were in front of me right now, I would be very kind to her. So I think it's about maybe cultivating that that capacity to be kind to yourself. And I write about it in chapter 8 of my book, but if you read that, or maybe read Self-Compassion by Kristin Neff, it's a very, very easy to understand book. It's a very, very powerful practice. And I now am very kind to myself, and that has made all the difference. I could not do this work, and I could not be who I am today if I hadn't learned to be as kind to myself as I am to other people.
Yeah.
So
I
much
love my younger self.
Yeah. I think it helps to imagine your younger self as being literally another person for a while. What would you say to them?
Yeah.
Because we're much kinder to other people.
Yeah. That is a really good tip, Sue, because one of the things that in self-compassion was to learn to hear the voice I was using for myself. And when I managed to tune into it, I realized I was basically the most horrible bully. I used to say things to myself I never dream of saying to anyone else. And if I did, they would not be my friend anymore. They would go, I'm out of here. You know, no one gets to talk to me like that.
Yeah,
And
that's right.
I had to learn to stop doing that by replacing that with kinder messages.
Yes.
And that's
Write them
I
down.
haven't grown up with kind messages.
Write them down and look at them dispassionately. What is the opposite of that message?
Yes.
That is the real truth there.
Yeah. Why were you being a bully to yourself, Jody? Why did you feel?
Because I had internalized. I am the daughter of a very, very unwell, very critical mother. So I was mothered by an unmothered daughter. So I'm afraid she was very, very harsh. And those were the messages I internalized. And everyone's inner critic is basically an internalized voice of judgment from parents, from siblings, from teachers. Basically, it's our superego. It's a kind of greatest hits of the worst things anyone's said to you. And you just have to learn that it's just a record. It's not real, and you have to kind of garbage. Learn how it's just garbage. I'm just going to have a look. There's a great question which is for Sue Newsome. How do I stop talking to myself as a therapist? I'd love to talk to myself as a friend.
And the reason I put that in my letter because I realized that when I was thinking about writing a letter to myself, I got my therapist hat on and I was just completely analysing, you know, my behaviour and my choices. And actually, I see it was a very conscious thing. So I imagined that I would be taking that hat off. So I literally energetically took my therapist hat off, put it down, and really connected with my heart and thought, no, I want to speak to Sue, the younger Sue, from my heart. And in doing that, I actually felt like I was her grandmother. So it was that grandmother energy that came through when I was writing the letter. You know, that's sort of the way that sometimes we can say things to a grandparent that we wouldn't say to a parent, you know, that a grandparent can, not always, be a different sort of place, you know, offer some safety and some warmth that not necessarily we might get from a parent. And that was the sort of place that I was sitting in when I was writing the letter.
That's good.
Wow. The grandmother energy. That's really interesting.
Yeah, yes.
I've got a question for you, Maria, which is your worldview is so different from the commonly held worldview. How do you hang, I hadn't noticed, how do you hang on to your convictions in the face of so much challenge?
It's taken me a while to develop. I wanted to know what was real and what was true. And just about everything, and it may be because I'm sensitive that I noticed, and I notice everything energetically, and I notice when the energies aren't right. And so I kept trying to discover what really was true. And so over time, I have developed an understanding. And it is not easy, but you get to a point where I think you have to say enough is enough. I am not, you only have so much time on this planet, whether you're childless or not. And at some point you have to say, I am not going to put up with this anymore. And we live in a world that doesn't like to hear enough is enough. You know, we're supposed to all be limitless. And so therefore those people who think that, you know, limitlessness applies to them think they have a right to expect whatever they expect. But anyway, be that as it may, you know, setting real limits and saying enough is enough with all the nonsense. It does take a little bit of courage, but you have to start to value your own life. And our lives are often treated like we're basically nothing but resources for this particular system. Well, no, I'm not a resource for this system. I'm a human being. If you can't handle it, that's your problem. You know, and I'm gotten to a place where I've just said, I'm really not willing to tolerate this nonsense anymore. And it really does, I think the more you go through your grieving process and you realize how much of what you're receiving is nonsense, then you have to say, well, I'm here. You know, I may not have chosen to be here, but what am I going to do with it? And do I really want to spend the rest of my life just being dumped on with a lot of nonsense? So you begin to start to make a shift and make some changes in what you're willing to put up with and what you're willing to be involved in. And I think it's important to do that, because we women, I think, do have to value our lives more than we've been allowed to when we were younger. And I don't think I put that in my list, but you know, I do think that that's part of this journey. We have to discover that our actual individual lives do have value. We're not just resources. So once you get to that place, you realize that the system has to get over the idea that you're just there to be used.
And with the bigger systems, the bigger systems as well, you know, our planet, all of the resources, we're not a resource. The planet isn't a resource.
Right. We're not just all here to be used.
No, we're not here to be used.
But basically you put your foot down and you do it gradually. And it's worth doing, I think. And you really start to admire and respect yourself when you do that.
Oh yeah, yes.
Trish.
Well, it is quite a journey. And I think because my generation, I am old, and you know, so I was brought up, as a lot of you have said, from a very strict upbringing. My mother was very strict. There wasn't a lot of love shown. It was almost like they weren't allowed to. And so you had to learn to love yourself. And when you don't have children, you really do. But I know we use the word journey, but it really has been a journey. And it keeps on being a journey. I can tell you now, even when you get older and older, it continues to be a journey. Learning all sorts of things that you have to deal with, but you're more able to deal with because you've learnt so much. And I was going to use the word, I know this word gets bandied around all over the place, empath, but do you feel that that is something, would you refer to yourselves as empath? Is it something that's used too easy and flung around too easily? Oh, I'm an empath, people say, don't they, without even analysing the whole structure of being an empath.
Well, interestingly, Trish, I think that's really Maria's work speaks very deeply to that.
Well, it was Maria's talking that actually triggered that question.
Well, I am an empath. And I look at energy, and energy is a source of learning for me. I do think it's important to develop your skills at connecting with and understanding energy.
Yeah.
And I think there are people who identify themselves as empaths who are not. They may be narcissists. Yeah, they like to show up around empaths.
Yeah, we all know
they just, yes.
Yeah. So
Yes,
they can soak up more of that good stuff.
Yeah.
I know.
Keep
Yeah,
demanding
so
more.
Put our feet down and say
I would
enough
be
is
quite
enough.
wary of someone turning up and telling me they were an empath. I have to say there would be a part of me that would go, I'm not sure that's actually something an empath would say.
No. You go, no, you're not.
Yeah.
No, you're not.
I can feel it.
We're coming to the end of our time, and I just wanted, there are a couple of questions, people asking, are our, Trish and others, are our letters written anywhere? For those of our panelists who want to share their letter with me, I will put it with the recording on the Gateway Women website, but it's completely up to them. You know, they're very, very personal. Not everyone may want to do that. What is a nomocrone? Well, nomo is a word that I created, and it just means not mother. So it's an abbreviation for the two words not mother. It just sounds like a groovy downtown district in New York. So nomo is a word that I created in 2011, and it's kind of gone wild. It's very, very big in Spain and various other things. So it just means not mother. So it might mean not mother by choice. It might mean not mother, not by choice. And crone, well, crone means the crowned one, crowned with age. It's not an insult. And I'm just going to see, there are some questions here which we don't have time, I'm afraid, to answer. But I hope that you will find a lot of support on the many webinars that are out there for World Childless Week. And I think we will close with this question, which is for all of us. At what age did you find peace in being childless?
I'll let you know when it happens.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
I think it's a process. It's a changing, moving, evolving process.
Yes.
So I feel I've found a place of peace, and then that can change, and it can be a different quality of peace that I move to. Yeah, it's really hard to answer that with a finite age.
Yeah. I mean, as I've got older, I thought I'd found peace. And as I've got to my age, I find a certain amount of grieving again, because I've got so much older, and there's this sort of, I don't mean no hope, but there's no hope of holding a baby, cuddling a baby.
Yeah.
And there's no hope now of that, but I just have to accept it. You deal with it. You deal with it. Because you've dealt with so much before. So you deal with whatever little bit of grief that comes along, but it is, it is a process, and it changes all the time.
Yeah, I think for me, I definitely in my sort of late 40s, my very late 40s, I realised I was starting to have moments of joy coming back. And I remember a significant moment. I used to live in London, and the street where I lived would have blossom that came out quite early in the year, around about February, March. And every year when the blossom would come out, I would hate it. I'd resent it. I think even the fucking trees are fertile. I was unconscious, irrational, and I used to love blossom, and I used to love spring, and I thought, great, now it's all lambs and everything, you know. So it was like, and then one year the blossom came out. I went, oh look, the blossom, and I went, oh, that's different, you know. And it was just over time I started to realize I could feel the world again. That it wasn't a sort of a barrier between me and the world. It started to, and it took me a couple of years of like these moments of joy kind of coming up and starting to thread together. And at first I thought, oh, that's just a blip, you know, I'm going to feel shit again next week. And sometimes that was true, but then gradually the periods of peace and joy got longer and longer. And strangely enough, I then had a very strange thing when I realized I definitely was kind of through the worst of my grief, that I then kind of grieved my grief, because my identity had become Jody who couldn't have kids, and it destroyed her life and she never got over it. And that had become quite a solid identity for me. And now I sort of had to let go of that and open myself up to what came next. And I didn't know who I was going to be without that. You know, I knew who I was without a baby, but now who was I was without the grief of a baby? So it's like, and it's just been a continual process of transitions. And I didn't think it was possible to feel as at peace with my childlessness as I do. In many ways, I think my internal reality is quite child-free now, and I didn't believe it was possible. And I thought when I got to that place, well, this is as good as it gets. But the extraordinary thing is the healing has continued, and layers, and you know, it comes more and more layers.
Yes.
And I feel, I'm kind of bracing myself for when, you know, the grandchildren descends on me. You know, I know, but I'm hoping that having opened my heart, and also I'm no longer afraid of grief. You know, I've been dealing with a lot of grief recently because my mum has dementia very young, and that's really tough. And so also, you know, intimations of mortality for myself, and grieving what's happening in the family system because of that. I'm an only child, and you know how it's affecting my stepfather. It's like, it's grief will always be with us. It just shows up in different ways at different times. But I think those of us who are childless, we have each other, and we have a strength to get through those times. You know, I do feel that I've had a very painful sort of training in dealing with the hard stuff.
I think there's a lot to admire. And I don't think we as women get to admire ourselves enough, because it's only mothers who are admired. And so I think that for me, just seeing people bravely tackle their grieving process, whatever that might be. I mean, I know how many people avoid doing their inner work. I've had plenty of education in the results of that from my family. And it's a real nasty experience. And so just seeing people being brave enough to tackle their grieving work, there's much to admire in that. And I think that I would encourage childless women to begin to start to admire the fact that they are doing this work, and admire who they are in the world, because you really do deserve to admire yourself.
Yeah, thank you, Maria.
That's beautiful.
And I think that just me maybe, but I do think that the mothers out there, the parents, the families should admire us also. That's what I think.
Yeah, I like that.
It's not just us, it needs to be out there as well. They need to know.
Well, we're doing it.
You are.
We are. No, so are you, Trish.
Battering them round the head on Twitter.
No, you're not. You're doing great work. Your blog is fantastic. For those who don't know Trish's work, it's justmeandlily.co.uk. I will put all of the links on the recording.
Thank you for that, Jody. Appreciate it.
And I love your voice, Trish, and it's really needed in this space, and it's been fantastic to have you as a guest. So I'd like everyone to just say a few words to close our webinar for today. Susan Dowrie?
I'd like to close by saying what I'm sad to think that I forgot to say at the beginning, which is that I am on the lands of the Yagara and Turrbal people. And I'd like to acknowledge their lives their stories and their elders.
And their elders.
Yeah.
Thank you for that, Susan.
And to thank everybody for this community of strength. Yeah. Strength in looking at ourselves, bringing ourselves forward. Yeah. And loving ourselves. Let's all give ourselves a hug.
And celebrating ourselves, like Maria said.
Celebrating, yeah,
And
that's right. That's the other side of grief.
Dawn is coming up behind you in Brisbane. Thank you so much.
Yeah, the dawn's coming up, yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much for getting up at shocking o'clock to be with us. It's always such a delight to have you on these calls, and thank you for your letter. You moved us. You moved the world with that letter. Thank you. Sue Newsom.
So I'm just feel it's just been such such a rich experience preparing for this evening, and then sitting here with fellow nomocrones and all the feedback from the participants. It's been very, very inspiring, and I feel incredibly I feel really full of the whole thing. And so yeah, thanks to Stephanie Phillips for World Childless Week yet again, and to Jody and to this amazing community.
Thank you. Maria.
I just wanted to say that I have been very touched by everybody's stories, the incredible courage, and also all the beauty that I have seen here in every single person. It's very inspiring to me. So I want to thank you all for sharing your wonderful stories.
Thank you, Maria. And thank you as always for your wisdom. I'm very grateful to have you as my elder. Thank you, always. Thank you. Sue for Gardelik.
Well, I want to thank you too. You know, this is a place, I was thinking a while back when Susan was talking about, in our families, we're the odd person. But here we fit in. This is our tribe, so this is very good. I mean, my family has no understanding of me at all, and that's the way it is. Wanted to say too, I love my younger self. I think she was working with what she had, with what she knew and what she was able to do, and with the another very restricted family, in a late start. But I love her. She was so talented and idealistic and pretty and slim, and I think we have to love ourselves at all ages. I read somewhere yesterday online that we are all the ages we were. They're still within us, and we are still our 5-year-old self and our 20-year-old self and our 40-year-old self, and we have to love them all because they are us. And love yourself. Write a letter to yourself if you can, and it's okay if you can't right now. But thank you all for all of this. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Sue. It's always gorgeous to have you on these calls with us. Thank you. Trish, some final words?
I feel quite speechless, actually. It's just been so enlightening. It's blown me away, really. And I thought it was going to blow me away too much for me to read my piece. But I read it, and thank you so much, Jody, all of you, for allowing me to be here and to join you. It's just been so thought-provoking, and just doing my little piece was thought-provoking. You surprise yourself. And I can only say thank you. If I sound a bit sort of stuttery and elderly stuttery, as I call it, I apologise, because I am quite blown away. So thank you very much. Thank you for having me. And thank you, Jody, for inviting me.
Thank you for accepting Jody's latest challenge. I do tend to throw them at people, and I'm always really, really grateful when people go, oh, okay.
Yes, used to play. Yes.
And I would like to send my thanks to Stephanie Joy Phillips for World Childless Week, to all of my panelists, to those who couldn't be with us tonight, to Donna and Karen and Jackie, and also when you watch the recording tomorrow. What was that?
Sevilla?
Sevilla, yes. When you watch the recording tomorrow, there is a recording from Sevilla and a recording from Donna. They have recorded their letters for us because they couldn't be with us live tonight. So there is bonus content when you watch the recording. Thank you so much. And someone in the chat wrote it would be really great for younger childless women to be able to sort of get support from their elders. That's really part of what my Gateway Elder Women project is about. It's very much emerging. It's probably going to emerge over the next few years, but intergenerational support and wisdom and contact between younger childless women and older childless women is something I'm very, very keen to sort of try and make it happen. Shoot me now. I'm always building things.
Yeah.
So with that, lots of love to you all, old or young, childless or child-free, wherever you are in the world today. It's been delightful to be with you. You have been watching Fireside Wisdom for Childless Elder Women with the Nomad Clones. Thank you. Stay tuned. Bye, everyone. Bye.
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 Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Hi, everyone.
Bye.
Hi there. I come to you from Melbourne, from the land of the Wurundjeri people, and I would like to pay my respects to our elders past, present and emerging. I'm here coming to you during World Childless Week, and Jody Day, the wonderful Jody Day, has asked me to take up the challenge and write a letter to my former self, which I have now done and will read to you right now. I've given it a title. Not that letters usually have a title, but this one has a title, and it's called Remembering Carl Sagan. And here it is. Dear one, the grief is legitimate. It comes from another country, a dark terrain at the end of a road you never knew you had taken. You thought you walked in the light, but there you are treading through parched darkness, spinifex bumping along beside you, a sallow light setting in the distance. You think you travel alone, but there are others. Pay no heed to those ribs, that pelvis sticking up from the ground. They are survivor blueprints of this wind-carved earth. Trust me, fellow travellers are so close you should feel their breath and hear their wailing, and they should hear you. But this place leads travellers into the belly of a beast who isolates, who shames, who alienates, a beast who abandons all who lug a phantom sin strapped to their back and gives no chance of atonement. Do not succumb. Know this. You are in the still place, the place where every privilege, every right you thought you had, and those you didn't know you had, the gift of your own flesh, the unreserved love of another, melts into a silvery solution. The grief is your undoing, your disassembling, intended to erode every bone and breath of you, yet all that remains will be you. That one slip of stardust you came in with. Despite the world's attempt to shape you into what it will forgive, you will unfold, as you were always going to unfold from that very first moment. Thank you.
Letter to myself. Dear Siv, I wish it weren't so, but life is hard. It is difficult. It is difficult for every human being. No one escapes the difficulty. As I write this letter, the Queen of England has died, and they are getting ready to bury her in a few days. And the reason I mention this is because she had everything and could have anything her heart desired, but she dealt with as much tragedy as anyone else. No one is exempt. You will meet difficulty as well. some of it quite heartbreaking, but you will make it. You are stronger than you know. And that may sound patronizing, but it is true. I want you to know how worthy you are, no matter what life throws at you. You are worthy and you are deserving of the best. You will have your valley moments, just like you'll have your mountaintop moments, but you will have valley moments. Even in the valley moments, you are worthy. The naysayers are many. They will be many. They always are. But that's because they are not as strong as you. Don't listen. As Mommy would say, work with your mouth shut. She is right. Trust your gut, trust your heart, trust your beautiful mind, even when no one else does. Trust yourself. It may not seem like it yet, but you will get to the point where you will trust you. Hang in there and never give up.